The Southern African Litigation Centre is leading calls for African member states of the International Criminal Court to petition for an investigation into war crimes committed in Gaza. It says that international crimes committed in Palestine must be investigated and prosecuted no matter who commits them. Let's speak now to Senior Research Fellow at the Africa-Asia Dialogues, Thembisa Fakude. A very good evening to you, sir. Good to have your time. So this call, while noble, would it amount to anything? Do you expect anything to actually turn on this?
Sorry, the sound is not too good to begin. Can you repeat the question, please?
I was just asking if you expect anything to come of the call for African states who are signatories to the Rome Statute to push for an investigation into war crimes in Gaza. Realistically, can that succeed?
Well, I think it's a desperate call, but out of the 33 African countries, one doubts if there's going to be any move towards taking Israel to The Hague. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when Naledi Pandor on Saturday delivered her presentation at one of the pro-Palestinian gathering, she told the world that when the issue of the Israeli observer status was raised at the African Union, she went on to lobby the member states of the African Union to go against that proposal. And out of the 54 member states, only 3 member states were willing to rescind or force the AU commissioner to rescind that decision. So one does not really hope that these attempts now of putting Israel into The Hague will really succeed, given the apparent support Israeli enjoys within the African Union.
And that's just the point, isn't it, that Africa at the moment does not have a homogeneous relationship with either Palestine or Israel. Explain the dynamic to us, why it is, for example, that a country like South Africa is firm in its stance that it stands with the Palestinian people, yet others on the continent are in fact in favor of more of an Israeli presence, more Israeli presence even at the AU.
Well, if I did get the question correct, the current standoff at the moment in Palestine, it will take a mammoth task to really solve it, including, what the attempts of the American president tried to do today. It will be extremely difficult for anyone to push, because you see the world getting more and more divided, particularly on this latest round of the conflict. There is no unity in terms of a position, particularly that which could, one, unify the Africans, but also that could communicate the Africans' position anywhere else in the world, because Africa is so polarized. So it's a very, very difficult one to tackle.
African leaders, including President Cyril Ramaphosa, have been very proud in recent months of their involvement in some of the diplomacy to do with the war between Russia and Ukraine. They've traveled even to both countries and been able to maintain an open line of dialogue with Presidents Zelensky and Putin. Is there a similar opportunity here, or will this be one for the West to resolve?
Well, I think the opportunity is still there, but I think what is further polarized the people, again, as you correctly say, the Russia-Ukraine issue is a polarizing factor, and I think it has further polarized whatever support that was left of it, particularly in Africa. I think also it will embolden the African, particularly South African government, who has been accused of being pro-Russia, that the hypocrisy that we see currently happening in terms of support between Russians and the Ukrainians, there has been hypocrisy there, where the Palestinians require similar support is not forthcoming, but we've seen the world blindly joining in the support of Ukraine's invasion by Russia.
And overall, do you think there'll ever be accountability, even criminal prosecution, for any of the people who've committed war crimes in Gaza and Israel? I mean, Israel has been clear in that what it wants to do is to kill off Hamas altogether. So they're not pursuing criminal prosecution for that. They want them dead. But for the people of Gaza then, the civilians, what justice is there for them?
Well, Israel is not only there to kill the Hamas or try to defend itself from Hamas. The collective punishment that we see happening, by the way, Hamas is not doesn't have a total and complete support from the Gazans. There are a lot of people who do not support Hamas in Gaza. And the collective punishment, I think, is only going to make things worse for Israel moving forward in terms of support. They were, to an extent, making inroads in the past when the Americans, particularly led by Donald Trump, were talking about the Abrahamic Accords and the normalization of relations between the Arab countries and Israel. But I think with this happening now, Hamas is going to be emboldened, and we are likely, therefore, to see more and more people, particularly within Gaza, supporting Hamas because of the atrocities that we continue seeing happen.
When you say more and more people supporting Hamas, is that beyond the bounds of the Gaza Strip, the bounds of Palestine?
Well, I think so. The thing is that, Israel has said that it's fighting Hamas, and it has continued to say so, including in the West Bank. But if you look at what's happening in the West Bank, Hamas is not in power in the West Bank. Hamas won the election in 2007 in Gaza, and that's why they're in the position they're in at the moment. But the continuation of invasion and continuation of suppression of rights and killing of people, particularly in the West Bank and within Israel, 1948, where the Arab countries, where the Arab communities is dominant, shows you that Israel is not really interested only at terminating the dominance of Hamas in terms of their political dominance in Gaza, but it's just an open, continual collective punishment because of what had happened on the 7th of October, and as a result, for them to reassure the Israelis that they are doing the work, they have to go on this kind of mission to go and do whatever it takes for them to suppress and kill, including innocent people, as we've seen yesterday in that hospital in Gaza.
Israel, the United States, some of the leaders in Europe all bring the problem in the Middle East or between Israel and the Palestinian people down to Hamas. And there seems to be a suggestion that with the removal or elimination of Hamas, there would be peace. Would there really, when you consider that even today, we're now seeing the introduction into the conversation of Islamic Jihad as possibly being responsible for the airstrike on the hospital yesterday. We know fingers in Palestine are pointing to the Israeli government. But would the removal or elimination of Hamas lead to peace?
Yeah, again, if I got the question correctly, I think what you're going to see happening again now is going to be a unity of all the factions within Palestine, including Islamic Jihad and others joining forces fighting against Israel. And this is also going to be joined, possibly, as it already started, by the Lebanese formation in the form of Hezbollah joining in. And this has got, by the way, the potential of spreading to other countries, including Iran, which has said in the past that it's not neutral in this conflict. So you are likely to have other factions in Palestine. By the way, it's not only Islamic Jihad and Hamas that are involved in Palestine. There are other national formations that are going to be likely joining in this war. And what we're going to be seeing happening over the next couple of days, if Israel does indeed go on the ground offensive, is going to be nothing but escalation and more casualties.
Thembisa Fakude, good to speak to you from the Africa-Asia Dialogues.